Shivaji Bhaskar, Faculty of Russian at the School of Foreign Languages, IGNOU. I welcome you all to this course, Basics of Russian Communication Skills Part 1. As you know that in our previous module, we have discussed about various cases of the Russian case system, out of which we have discussed about various aspects of the Russian grammar. To be very particular about the concept of possession, belonging and negation, we have discussed all three gender of the Russian grammar, that is masculine, feminine and neuter. We have seen that how the nouns ending and the adjective endings, they are changed. Now in this module we will be discussing about various other nouns which are used as in plural. We will also be discussing about various other aspects of the possession, belonging and negation of the Russian grammar. So now let's pay attention to the nouns which are always in plural, such as деньги, очки, часы, which means деньги is money, очки is spectacles and часы means watch or hours. So деньги, which is always in plural, changes into денег, очки changes into очков and часы changes into часов. To understand it more clearly, let's take some examples. The first one is у брата нет денег. So the question here arises as per the requirement of the noun, whether it is animate or inanimate. Деньги is inanimate, so the question is чего? У брата нет денег. Чего нет у брата? So brother does not have the money. У брата нет денег. So деньги, which is in plural in nominative form, changes into plural in this form as денег. The second one is у дедушки почти нет волос. So here we have the noun волосы, which is in plural, means hairs, and here у дедушки чего нет, чего почти нет у дедушки, волос нет. So here according to the animate or inanimate nature of the noun, we are using the question чего, because волосы is inanimate, which means hairs. Now the third one is у сестры нет очков. Чего нет у сестры? Sister does not have spectacles, so очки changes into очков. So according to this, we have used the aspects of the nouns which are always in plural like деньги, очки, etc. and change them into денег and очков. You may please note that starting with the numeral 5 and up to 20, which means 5, 20, the plural nouns they qualify also takes the above mentioned form. So if we have 5 and the noun is очки, changes into 5 очков, and according to the same grammatical rules we will follow. For example, 5, if we have the noun дом, changes into домов. 5 домов, 6 ручек, 7 писем, 19 вокзалов, 20 книг. So according to the gender of the noun we are changing. For example, дом changes into 5 домов, ручка changes into 6 ручек, 7 писем, письмо changes into писем, whereas вокзал changes into вокзалов and 20 книг, книга changes into книг. But we have to remember that 21 книга, 22, 3, 4 книги, whereas it is again 25, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13 книг and so on. So whenever we have numerals 1, 2, 3, 4, we follow the same rule. For книга, одна книга, две книги, три книги, четыре книги, 5 книг. And like you have seen, 21 книга, 22 книги, 23 книги means 21 books, 22 books, 23 books and so on. but if it is 25 25 it would be 25 knig. So you have to remember the rule of the grammar so that you can use it properly and as per the rules. Now let's go ahead and pay attention to a few more aspects. For example, if we have 1000, the word for 1000 in Russian is tisicha. So tisicha, because it ends with a, it is of feminine gender. So we put adna, 1000, adna tisicha. And for 2, 3, 4, we will follow the same rule, dve tisichi, 3 tisichi, 4 tisichi. And for 5, 5 тысяч, it can be anything, 5000 долларов, 5000 рублей, 5000 rupee, etc. as per the gender of that particular noun. Similarly, 21 тысяча, 21,000, 22, 23, 23, 4 тысячи, so 22, 23, 24,000, and according to the rule of the grammars you can change it accordingly. I hope the concept of counting is clear to you all, and as per the requirement of the noun and its ending you can change accordingly. To understand it more clearly, let's pay attention to the model. У него 5 in bracket карандаши, а у сестры 8 in bracket ручки. So as per the rule which we have learned, 5 карандашей and у сестры 8 ручек. So as per the requirement of the grammar we have changed. You can also change rest of the cases which we have found here in the bracket as per the rules of the grammar. Okay, now let's pay attention to some of the examples. На полке 30 in bracket книги. So 30 книг. В аудитории 6. So окна would change it to окон. According to the grammar, we can also change rest of them. Okay, now let's go ahead and pay attention to the new concept of the grammar which we are going to learn in this module. So the adjective and pronoun which indicates possession, belongingness and negation in plural. In order to understand these adjectives, pronouns in possession and negation, let's have some examples. Let's go ahead and pay attention to some of these sentences. In Russian language, we use several adjectives and pronouns in plural forms to express meaning in a sentence. These adjectives and pronouns, like nouns, also express possession, belongingness and negation. So according to the rule of the grammar, the ending would change. So adjectives qualifying plural nouns. In this case, the interrogative word for the adjective is kakik. Irrespective of the gender of the noun, it qualifies. So whether it is masculine, feminine or neuter, the adjective's ending would be kakik. Let's understand with a few examples how it changes. Учебники новых студентов лежат на столе. So учебники, which is a plural form of учебник, новых, каких новых студентов лежат на столе. Учебник каких студентов лежат на столе. Новых студентов. So if I am asking the question, учебник каких студентов лежат на столе? So the answer would be учебники новых студентов лежат на столе. So the answer would change as per the requirement of the grammar. So каких changes into новых. Now let's go ahead and pay attention to a few more examples. В этом доме почти нет старых женщин. Каких женщин почти нет в этом доме? Старых. So старый changes into старых. However, the noun is женщина. So старая женщина, старые женщины changes into старых женщин. The next one is комнаты современных зданий очень уютнее. Комнаты каких зданий очень уютнее? Современных. So according to the requirement of the Russian, the ending of the adjective changes. So каких зданий? современных зданий. So, каких means which changes into современных, contemporary. So, according to the requirement of the Russian grammar, we are changing the endings of the adjectives here. Now, let us go ahead and pay attention to a few more examples. So, in nominative, the question is какие, and in this case, when we are changing the pronouns and adjectives, changes into каких. Новые – новых, старые – старых, известнее – известных, хорошие – хороших, русские – русских. So, you have to be very careful about the ending of the adjective, noun, pronoun, and whether it is plural. Then according to the rule of the grammar, you change, as we have just used all these adjectives, pronouns and nouns. Okay, now let us go ahead and pay attention to the model. В аудитории нет, in bracket новые студентов. So, when we use negation нет, we follow the same rule, новые changes into новых студентов. В аудитории нет новых студентов. Каких студентов нет в аудитории? В аудитории нет новых студентов. So, we have used the same case in каких as well as нет. In both the cases, the ending of новые would change into новых. Likewise, тетради новые студенток лежат на столе. So, тетради каких новых студенток лежат на столе. And if we want to use нет, then also тетради новых студенток лежат на столе. Then комнаты новые зданий, большие комнаты каких зданий? Новых зданий, большие. So, according to the rule of the grammar which we have learned in the previous module and in this module, we will follow the rules and solve the activities accordingly. В этом учебнике нет. Труднее should change into трудных упражнений. В библиотеке мы нашли книги современных писателей. Слова старых песен часто очень хорошие. Accordingly, you can also change the rest of the exercise. Okay, now let's go ahead and pay attention to a few more examples. В зоопарке не было сибирских птиц. Переводчик знает имена иностранных гостей. Имена иностранных гостей. У ребенка нет. Here we are using an expression of negation. Что нет, кого нет, чего нет. So from что we are changing as per the requirement of the animate or inanimate, чего or кого. У ребенка нет хороших игрушек. So, чего нет у ребенка? Нет хороших игрушек. У студента нет синих карандашей. Чего нет? У студента нет синих карандашей. Она читает письма. Школьных подруг. So, according to the rules of the grammar, you can also solve the exercises easily. Now, we shall take a few more examples. Starting with the numerals 5 and up to 20, the plural nouns they qualify also take the above mentioned form. How do we do it? For example, 5 школьных друзей. Школьные друзья changes into школьных друзей when we use the numerals 5. 6 новых подруг. 20 больших зданий. So, as per the requirement of the noun подруга, so for 6 подруг. And if it is здание, changes into 20 больших зданий. So, with an adjective. You can change them as per the requirement of the Russian grammar. Now, we will go ahead and pay attention to the activity. To understand it more clearly, let's pay attention to the model. У этого человека 5 новые машины. It should change into у этого человека 5 новых машин. На полке 10 русские учебники. Русские учебники should change into русских учебников. And according to the rules of the grammar, you can change the rest of the exercise easily. Now let's go ahead and pay attention to some of the more aspects of the Russian grammar. In this, we shall take pronouns qualifying the plural nouns, such as with the usage of interrogative words like chik and kakik. So we already know che, chia and chio and chi. Now in this case, since we are talking about the pronouns which are being used to qualify the plural nouns, so chi would change into chik. Население наших городов очень большое. So население большое чик городов, наших городов. Accordingly, народы этих стран очень дружнее. Народы чьих стран, наших. So it changes into каких стран, очень дружнее. Народы наших or этих стран. So according to the rules of the grammar which we have just learned, the plural form of the pronoun changes to чик, этих and каких. Now let's go ahead and pay attention to some of the possessive pronouns in plural. The question would be чик, чей, чик, мой, моих, твой, твоих, наши, наших, ваши, ваших, свой, своих. And the demonstrative pronouns would be used in plural каких, какие and каких, эти, этих, че, чек. Now let's go ahead and pay attention to the model to understand it more clearly. Velocipede, мои. So in this, since we are talking about usage of the pronouns in plural, so велосипеды моих друзей стоят в дворе. Велосипеды моих друзей стоят в дворе. Цена этих книг очень высокая. Что высокая? Цена чик этих книг очень высокая. So like this you can answer the question with the help of the rules of the grammar which we are learning now. Now let's pay attention to the next sentence. Мама стирает одежду свой детей. So свой should change into своих детей. Куклы ваших детей очень красивые. Лица тех людей похожи на русских. So according to the rules of the grammar which we have learned, that how these pronouns should change into plural while using the question cheek. Now let's go ahead and pay attention to a few more examples. So here we can have a few more examples like дети наших друзей играют в парке. So in place of наши друзей, наши changes the form of наших. Сочинение мой студентов, so моих студентов довольно длиннее. Комнаты этих домов маленькие. Рисунки тех учеников висят на стене. So the above mentioned plural form of nouns qualifying adjectives and pronouns are also used after много, немного, мало, сколько, несколько. So these are some of the important aspects of the Russian grammar where we are talking about possession, belonging and negation. So after using certain words like много, мало, немного, несколько, the above mentioned plural forms of nouns qualifying adjectives and pronouns also used and changes afterwards the usage of много, немного, мало, сколько and несколько. Много means too much, немного means too little, мало means little, сколько means how much and несколько means a little. For example, много новых студентов, мало старых зданий, немного русских инженеров, сколько иностранных аспирантов and несколько русских книг. So as per the gender of the noun, for example, книга in plural form is русские книги in nominative. But when we are talking about possession, belonging and negation, the plural form is русских книг and we are using the expressions несколько. Несколько русских книг. Сколько иностранных аспирантов, русских инженеров, старых зданий. and novik studentak. So as per the rules of the grammar, you can also change rest of the nouns and adjectives. Okay, now let's go ahead and pay attention to the activity to understand it clearly. Я видел много красивые картины. So красивые картины would change into красивых картин в его комнате. У моего брата несколько дорогие книги. So дорогие книги would change into дорогих книг. And according to the rules of the grammar, you can also solve the rest of the exercise easily. Now let's go ahead and pay attention to a few more examples. В соседней квартире много маленькие дети. So маленькие дети would change into маленьких детей. У его друга мало редкие марки, редких марок. Сколько интересных фильмов вы посмотрели в этом году? Сколько интересных фильмов? So, as per the rules of the grammar, we have just changed the ending of these plural nouns along with the adjectives or pronouns, and we have seen how they are changing as per the rules of the grammar which we have learned in the module. Now, we shall take the activity and answer in negative. We already know when we use the negation, we use niyat. So, to understand it clearly, let's pay attention to the model. На нашей улице есть большие магазины. So, на нашей улице нет больших магазинов, because магазин plural form магазины and большие would change into больших магазинов. Now let's go ahead and pay attention to a few more expressions. В городе есть известный музей. В городе нет известных музеев. So we are putting the negation with the help of нет and changing the ending of the adjective and the noun. So известный музей changes into известных музей. В этом районе есть красивые здания. В этом районе нет красивых зданий. В нашем институте есть иностранные студенты. В нашем институте нет иностранных студентов. And according to the rules of the grammar, you can change the rest of the exercise easily. For example, в библиотеке есть новые книги. В библиотеке нет новых книг, as per the ending of the noun. Now let's go ahead and pay attention to the new aspect. Starting with the numerals 5 and up to 20, the plural forms they qualify also takes the above mentioned form. For example, 10 наших студентов. So student, which is student, changes into plural студенты, and if we use numerals 5 or 10, changes into 10 студентов. And now we are using the pronoun наших. So наш студент changes into наши студенты, changes into наших студентов when we put 10. 5 ваших учительниц. So 5 ваш changes into ваши, учительница changes into учительницы, and when we talk about negation, 5 or possession or belonging, 5 ваших учительниц. So, according to the rules of the grammar, which affects the ending of the adjective, pronoun or the noun, we shall follow them accordingly. I hope all these aspects are clear to you. Now, let's pay attention to the model in order to understand it clearly. На заводе работают 10 наших инженеров. В аудитории сидят 6 ваших студентов. В читальном зале занимаются 7 наших аспирантов. На кафедре работает 15 наших преподавателей. And according to the rules of the grammar, you have seen how the ending of these all nouns and pronouns or adjectives are changing. Now let's go ahead and pay attention to the rest of the exercise. В этом универмаге работают 7. В этом универмаге работает 8 моих знакомых. 5 твоих друзей сегодня играют в футбол на стадионе. So, with the help of these exercises, we have seen the above mentioned plural forms of nouns, pronouns and adjectives are also used after the preposition denoting place like u, okla, naprotiv, mima, внутри, вокруг, среди, and after prepositions indicating directions откуда, куда, like is, at, s, and the. So, we have largely seen that how in this particular case, when we are talking about possession, belonging and negation, we have used rest of the aspects of the Russian grammar. We have used the plural forms of the nouns, adjective, pronouns, etc. And now we are talking about the usage of certain preposition which denotes place like u, okla, naprotiv, mima, внутри, вокруг, среди, and prepositions indicating directions like откуда, куда, etc. To understand it clearly, now let us pay attention to the exercises. For example, if we take the sentence like вчера мы были у наших старых знакомых. So, yesterday we were at the place of our old acquaintances or our old known people, known persons. Я часто получаю письма от своих старых родителей. I often get letters from my old parents. Напротив наших квартир находится детский сад. There is a kindergarten opposite our flat. Среди новых студентов он самый хороший. So, in this sentence, среди новых студентов он самый хороший. He is the best among our new students. Среди новых студентов. To understand clearly, let's pay attention to a few more exercises. Я часто получаю письмо от моих школьных друзей из наших квартир. Все мужчины уже вышли на работу. Около этих зданий есть станции метро. У студенческих общежитий есть хороший ресторан. Вокруг новых домов стоят высокие. So, вокруг новых домов. So, here we are having a few more examples with the help of naprotiv, среди, внутри, etc. We know the rules. The ending of the plural forms of noun changes, and accordingly the adjective endings and the pronoun endings also changes. So, we have understood the usage of the belonging, possession and belonging. So, we have understood the usage of possession, belonging and negation in various other aspects, whether we are talking about the nouns of masculine, feminine, neuter in plural or singular, as well as the pronouns. We have seen the usage of adjectives, etc. All these cases which we have dealt with in the previous module and the present module is basically known as the genitive case. So, we have discussed about various aspects of the case which talks about possession, belonging and negation. We have seen the usage of various genders like masculine, feminine and neuter. We have seen how their endings they changes as per the rules of the grammar. We have also seen the changing of the adjectives and pronouns and their agreement to the nouns. We have seen the usage of mnoga, mala, skolka, niaskalka, etc. All these different aspects of the Russian grammar, along with some of the prepositions like kuda, atkuda, and some of the directions like naprotiv, prямо, etc., are basically used in a particular case which is known as the genitive case of the Russian case system. We shall be talking about the genitive case in more detail in our upcoming module. I hope the aspects of the Russian grammar which talks about possession, belonging and negation is clear to you all. Now, in our next module, we shall be taking a few more examples and text and the usage of all these different forms of nouns, adjectives, etc. Thank you.